around on my personal. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Marx Library Live.
Today we are outside enjoying like this pseudo fallish. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I think it's probably 95. It's 96 degrees. But we're in the shade.
There's a bit of a breeze. You can almost pretend like it's fall.
It feels like. Do you feel that?
I feel it.
I feel like the humidity is not like extreme.
Suffocating us. Yeah.
Okay. So we're outside enjoying the fall weather because
we're talking about a not so relaxing topic.
Today, we should probably tell them who we are, though.
Yeah.
We always do that. We always forget to tell people who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
we just assume at this point our celebrity is so great.
Right. We should, you should go.
Librarians who need no introduction. I'm Stephanie Eversard. I am the social sciences librarian here at the Marx Library. And this is...
I'm Beth Riggin-Shepherd. I am the Arts and Humanities librarian here at the Marx Library. And if you have not been down here, we're on the first floor outside of the new... It's not really new. It's been there since the building was built.
But you can actually leave it now without setting off an alarm.
Entrance/exit on the first floor.
South side.
And there are these two nice,
tables with umbrellas.
Cafe situation tables set up. So that's where we are. If you haven't come, you should check it out.
And it's like double shade because you're underneath it.
I don't understand why there are umbrellas under the shade, but it just makes it look legit.
I was told that the sun does shift, and so there.
You were told that the sun shifts.
Does in this particular spot? Okay, well, I know that the sun does not shift. The earth shifts.
Actually, it rotates.
If we're going to be real smart.
All right. Anyway,
so that's why.
we're here. Okay, but so let's talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Apparently, this week is Peer Review Week, National Peer Review Week.
I feel like there's like a day/week for everything.
Yeah.
And finally we found one that isn't food related. Like National Donut Day, not a pizza day.
Right.
National Bring Your Brown Bag Lunch Day. National Zucchini Day.
Ooh, Zucchini Day. That sounds delicious.
Okay, we went through pizza, donuts, and you were like, ew, it's vegetables. Okay.
I like vegetables.
I do too. I like zucchini too.
Okay.
I love zucchini. But this week, instead of being food related, there is a legit... Who sponsors National Peer Review Week? Do we even say?
I don't know. I guess it's just these people.
I don't know. Okay, so
it doesn't even say.
I don't know. Let's say we're sponsoring it. Sponsored by. So we thought in celebration of National Peer Review Week,
That's next
which
week.
is part of peer review is the rebuking. We thought we would talk a little bit about what peer review is,
where you can find peer-reviewed articles, and why your professors are so obsessed with peer review.
So let's start with what peer review is.
Okay, so Beth, what is peer review?
Okay, so
I'm going to toss this one back to you.
In its simplest form. So let me talk about peer review. The concept of peer review often happens when your professors are talking about locating scholarly sources, right? So we need to put it in context. Because, anything could be peer review. But
right,
in
so
the
they
context,
tell you to find a source, and they say only peer-reviewed sources.
And so what happens, essentially, is, let's say Stephanie writes this amazing article about something, and then she submits it to a journal in its intent to be published, right? So she's creating new knowledge within her field. Other librarians that do Stephanie's job, who are experts in that field, are then going to review her work anonymously, right? They call it blind or double blind, right? So they don't know who she is because she's an amazing person, and we don't want her amazing person to influence our scholarship. And then they do one of three things. They say, this is amazing, we're going to publish it as it is, which never happens. 2, it's a really great article. Here are some either minor revisions for editorial revisions, or here are some things that we think you should revise and resubmit.
Or, final, we don't want it.
Just get a new job, right?
Send it somewhere else.
So that's the peer review part, right? Is that it's Stephanie's technical peers, other experts that do her job that know what she knows, essentially, reviewing her work to see if it is essentially legit scholarship.
Right, so the review looks at all kinds of things. It makes sure that your methodology is sound, that your conclusions are logical, that you've cited your sources.
That you've cited the people that you need to cite and didn't overlook anybody significant.
Right, so you're not leaving out some major piece of information that you should be including.
So what it essentially means, and it's generally never reviewed by one person. It's a board of reviewers. So sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes more than that, depending upon the journal, right? But what it ensures is that everything that gets published ultimately in that journal is credible and has a sound scholastic methodology, that sort of thing.
Right, so you know if you're using one of these sources that the information you're getting from it is reliable.
Yeah, and that is why your professor is so obsessed with them.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard it yet, you're going to hear it a lot in your classes to use peer-reviewed articles.
Yeah, because unlike, let's say, something like journalism does not, so journalistic newspapers, things like that, magazines.
So something like in a magazine, or newspaper.
Does not have a peer review process because it's more of an editor that reviews, right, rather than a body, a panel.
And it's really being written for like general consumption, like regular people to read, and not
like regular people.
Are we regular people?
No, we're not regular people. No.
And not experts in that field to read. So, like when I write something, it's for other librarians to read, not for like
physicists. And when physicists write something, it's not for me to
Definitely
read.
Not.
Right, and the whole idea is that you're creating new knowledge within the field, and with that comes a responsibility to make sure that it is good knowledge, essentially, right? So that's why your professors really love you to find peer-reviewed sources. Now, with that being said,
how do you find them?
Well, let's just
real quick.
Well, you're jumping ahead because I think one thing I get a lot of questions sometimes are books peer-reviewed.
Ah, that is a good question.
In the strictest sense, no.
But most scholarly books go through such a rigorous publication process that I would say the quality is probably...
The quality is maintained up there with like a peer-reviewed journal, but in the like strictest, most technical sense...
It is not peer-reviewed.
It is not peer-reviewed. But that doesn't mean it's not scholastic.
Right. It can still be scholastic, and it can still include extremely credible information.
Without being peer-reviewed. And that's kind of a gray area, right, that a lot of students will trip up with when it says peer-reviewed and not peer-reviewed. Because there can be scholastic things without being peer-reviewed.
Right.
But rarely is there ever anything that is peer-reviewed and not scholastic.
Right, yeah. So I think most of the time when professors tell them to find peer-reviewed stuff, they're talking specifically about articles.
Yeah.
And they're doing that because they do not want you to just Google for something and use something from a newspaper or a magazine or just someone's weird blog. You know, they want you to find something that is credible.
Yeah. So when we talk about peer-reviewed, we often talk about it in the context of a journal article, right?
Right.
And it also can be called refereed if you're British.
Yes.
Which everyone should spell things with extra U's. And,
of course.
Yeah.
I know all about that lately.
I know. Which, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's a really good, could you please, that's a really cool example.
Okay, so what about the spelling?
Well, yeah, but you submitted an article.
Right, so almost a year ago now, I submitted an article to a journal, and it was accepted with minor revisions.
But all the revisions ended up being...
So they wanted me to use British spelling.
Because it's
a British publication, so I had to go through and change all the spellings.
Which is a pretty good example of kind of that peer review process, right? Like they didn't accept it as is, they needed her to go back and add some U's.
Right.
So that's peer review in action. Okay.
And they wanted more than that. They looked through and they said this is pretty good. Here's some things that you can make it better.
And then make sure you change your use.
Right.
Okay, so because they're super important, how do we go about finding them?
Well, luckily, most of these articles.
Most of these articles.
I don't know. The British influence.
I know both of us are like, hold on. All right.
Okay. You can find most of these articles through our databases by searching our journals. So we include... What am I trying to say here?
I think what she's trying to say is that most of our databases have a peer-reviewed limiting option in them.
Thank you. I was actually trying to say that we subscribe to a whole bunch of journals that are peer-reviewed.
Which is true. Most of our journal collection is going to be peer-reviewed because that's the body of journals.
Right, and you can find those through our databases.
Yeah, and a lot of the databases will have, like I'm thinking a lot of our EBSCO databases, like OneSearch is an EBSCO product. It's going to have a limiter over on the left side that says peer-reviewed, and you can click on that.
And then they'll get rid of anything that's not in a peer-reviewed journal.
Now, a database like JSTOR does not have a peer-reviewed limiter. most of what's in it is peer reviewed, but that's where your student kind of have to use the brain a little bit, or your friendly librarian to find out if that journal is peer reviewed.
Right, and even if a journal's peer reviewed, it doesn't mean everything you find in that journal is a peer reviewed article, because journals do have other stuff.
Praise. Okay. Yes. Okay, so you guys may not have ever seen a journal in its full, it's like an entirety in real life, like how it's born, but it's born in print. And in that...
It's an actual, like, tree baby, so...
Tree baby.
Yeah.
And in that... Oh, I just hit it. I hit the table with my leg. In that journal, there are different things. So there's, like, front matter, reviews, editorials. Then there's, like, the body of
Sometimes there's advertisements where they're, like, trying to sell you something.
Yeah. Then there's the body of the journal of that issue, which is generally, like, 4 or 5 academic, peer-reviewed articles. Like, call them research articles, right? And then there's always some back matter. The stuff that bookends those research articles generally are not peer reviewed.
Right. So even if you tick that little box to get only stuff in peer reviewed journals, not everything that's going to come up is going to count as a peer reviewed
Right.
article.
So if you ever have any questions about is this technically peer reviewed?
Yeah, I just had a student last week who came up to me and he was very disappointed because one of his professors told him it doesn't count. He's like, but I found it using that limiter. And it was review. It was a book review.
Because the journal that it came from is a peer-reviewed journal.
Mm-hmm.
But everything around it is not, right? So I think you can generally say book reviews are not going to be peer-reviewed.
Right.
From those editorial kind of things, front matter, back matter, there's not going to be peer-reviewed. But if you, like you said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to come reach out to your handy dandy friendly librarian, and we'll tell you that's not peer reviewed.
Yeah, we'll look at it. I have students do that all the time.
Yeah,
I get emails all the time. Does this count?
Does this count as peer reviewed? And sometimes we look to see if the journal's peer reviewed. Like we'll look up the journal and see, like, okay, yeah, and it's technically a research article, so yes, this is a peer reviewed article. We don't trust the little limiter button.
No.
Yeah, but the limiter button is a good place to start.
Right, because it's going to get rid of most of that stuff that doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay. So get out there and celebrate
National Peer Review Week
by locating some peer-reviewed articles. I can't think of a more exciting way to celebrate.
Thrill a minute.
Ooh, can't wait. But it is a really important concept to understand. Because it's one that you will hear about throughout the rest of your academic career. Yeah. Okay. So we're just perfect. We're right on time.
All right. So let's wrap up. You're already following us on Instagram. Encourage your friends to do the same so they don't miss out on awesome content like Peer Review Week. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. And if you have missed previous episodes of Marx Library Live, you can find them all on YouTube.
Yeah, or you go back and watch this and remember what peer review is in a week and a half, and your professor says, I need you to find a peer-reviewed article.
And you're like, I'm pretty sure Stephanie and Beth just talked about that.
I've heard about peer review somewhere in my life. I don't remember where. Who would be talking about that?
We'll be there to help you.
Yeah, we'll be there. And don't hesitate to reach out.
All right, everyone. We'll have a great peer review week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.